There is a kind of strength that does not shout. It does not argue, does not defend, does not chase validation. It simply stands. It moves through the chaos of life like a mountain standing in a storm, untouched, unmoved, unbothered. That is the art of acting as if nothing bothers you, not out of indifference, but out of mastery. Because life will always test you with noise, but peace is the ability to hear that noise and still choose silence. We live in an age where everything seems designed to provoke you. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a coworker disrespects you, a stranger online throws insult after insult. And in those moments you are given a choice to react or to remain, to defend or to detach, to let others control your peace or to protect it like sacred ground. Most people react. They explode, complain, argue, and drain their own energy trying to prove something that does not need proof. But those who win in life understand this simple rule: your reaction is your reputation. Calmness is not weakness, it is control over chaos. Imagine walking through fire and not being burned, not because the flames are gone, but because you have learned how to walk differently. That is emotional discipline. It is not pretending you feel nothing. It is choosing what deserves your emotional response. The most powerful people are not those who have control over others, but those who have mastered control over themselves. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are not suppressing your emotions. You are elevating them. You are saying, "I am no longer available for unnecessary drama." You are setting a boundary between your peace and the world's noise. You stop explaining yourself to people who do not listen. You stop overreacting to things that do not matter in the long run. You stop letting temporary emotions make permanent decisions. There is an old story of a wise monk who was insulted by a man in the village. The man shouted, cursed, and tried to provoke him. The monk listened quietly, then smiled and walked away. Someone later asked him, "Why did you not respond?" The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, who does it belong to?" The lesson is timeless. Not every comment deserves your energy. Not every fight deserves your presence. Sometimes the greatest act of power is walking away. When you stop reacting to small things, you create space for big things. The mind that is constantly triggered cannot create. The heart that is constantly offended cannot love deeply. The person who needs to respond to every insult never has time to rise above. To act as if nothing bothers you is to free yourself from emotional slavery. But here is the truth. This kind of calm is not built overnight. It takes practice. It takes patience. It takes the decision every single day to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to choose silence when anger begs for words. It is a quiet discipline, the kind that turns pain into wisdom and chaos into clarity. You begin to realize that most things are not personal. People are acting from their pain, not from truth. The coworker who criticizes you is projecting insecurity. The friend who suddenly becomes distant is fighting a silent battle. The person who mocks you is seeking validation through control. When you see beyond behavior, you stop being controlled by it. That is emotional freedom. This book is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming untouchable, not because you do not feel, but because you feel deeply and choose wisely. It is about reclaiming your energy from people and situations that never deserved it. It is about walking through life with quiet confidence, knowing that no external storm can disturb the inner stillness you have built. If you listen to this audiobook until the end, you will learn how to detach without becoming disconnected, how to respond without reacting, how to stay soft without being fragile, and how to lead with calm in a world addicted to chaos. You will learn that silence can be louder than anger, that peace can be more powerful than pride, and that grace under pressure is the greatest sign of strength. At the heart of this philosophy is a single truth: peace is your responsibility. No one can protect it for you. Not the people you love, not your job, not success or money. Only you can guard it. When you stop outsourcing your peace to circumstances, you become unstoppable. There is a moment in everyone's life when they realize they can no longer afford to waste energy on nonsense. That moment is the beginning of wisdom. It is the birth of emotional maturity. It is when you decide that not everything deserves a reaction, not everyone deserves an explanation, and not every situation deserves your attention. So when people misunderstand you, let them. When they underestimate you, let them. When they try to provoke you, smile. Silence is the language of power, because the moment you stop explaining yourself to the wrong people, you start becoming magnetic to the right ones. As you read on, you will discover the habits, mindset, and spiritual discipline that allow you to act unbothered, not as a mask, but as a truth. You will learn that detachment is not disinterest. It is deep respect for your peace. You will learn that true composure is not an act. It is a state of being built through inner strength. By the end, you will not just act as if nothing bothers you, you will become the kind of person who is genuinely unbothered. Because when you are full of self-respect, the noise outside cannot shake what is calm inside. If this opening spoke to you, remember, this peace is not found, it is created. You build it one breath at a time, one reaction at a time, one choice at a time. And the moment you stop giving the world permission to disturb your spirit, you step into your highest power. Chapter 1: The Power of Not Reacting. How Stillness Wins Every Battle. There is a hidden power that few people ever learn to use. It is the power of restraint, the strength of not reacting when everything inside you wants to explode. The power of silence in a world that screams for attention. You see, the world is loud. People argue to be right, shout to be seen, fight to be heard. But those who truly hold power do not need to prove it. They do not chase validation. They command it through calm. They do not defend themselves. They demonstrate through results. He who masters his reactions masters his reality. Think about the last time someone said something that angered you. Maybe it was a careless comment, an unfair judgment, or a betrayal that cut deep. Your first impulse was probably to respond, to correct them, to protect your pride, to make them feel what you felt. But what did it give you? A few seconds of satisfaction followed by hours of regret or tension. Reaction feels powerful in the moment, but it always costs more than it gives. Response, however measured, mindful calm, is where true power lives. Imagine two warriors facing each other. One is restless, shouting, swinging wildly, desperate to land a blow. The other stands still, watching, breathing, waiting. Who do you think wins? The second warrior. Because calmness is control. It is awareness. It is the ability to see without distortion, to act from clarity rather than chaos. That is what it means to act as if nothing bothers you, not because nothing touches you, but because you refuse to let your emotions control the narrative. There is an ancient proverb, the tree that bends does not break. It reminds us that flexibility is strength. When you are calm, you can bend with life without snapping under pressure. When you are reactive, every insult becomes a storm. Every challenge becomes an earthquake. But when you practice stillness, the storm passes and you remain. Most people think reacting is a sign of strength. It is not. Reacting means someone else controls your peace. It means their words or actions dictate your mood. That is not power, that is emotional slavery. The moment someone can push a button and make you angry, you have given them control. The moment you can smile through that same provocation, you have reclaimed it. There is a story told about Buddha. A man once approached him in anger, shouting insults, trying to provoke a reaction. But Buddha remained still. The man, frustrated, asked, "Do my words mean nothing to you?" Buddha replied, "If someone gives you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" The man answered, "To the giver." Buddha smiled and said, "Exactly. "I do not accept your anger." The man was speechless. That is how stillness wins every battle. It does not fight where no victory is needed. To act unbothered does not mean you suppress emotions. Suppression is pretending. Mastery is transforming. You do not hide your feelings, you hold them until you can choose how to release them. You acknowledge anger, but do not let it lead. You feel pain, but do not let it define you. You observe your emotions as waves, passing temporary, not truth. In that space between stimulus and response lies your entire power. Psychologists call this space emotional regulation. It is the ability to pause, breathe, and respond with intention. That pause is the difference between peace and regret. It takes only a few seconds to shift from reaction to mastery, but it takes discipline to build that pause into your life. Every time you choose silence over argument, presence over panic, and patience over pride, you are rewiring your brain towards strength. Let us look at a real-world example. Picture a leader in a high-stakes business meeting. The atmosphere is tense. Someone criticizes his decision harshly. The room expects him to defend himself immediately. Instead, he pauses, he breathes, he thanks the critic for their perspective and continues calmly. That single act shifts the room's energy. Suddenly, he is not the one being judged. He is the one in control. His silence is not weakness, it is strategy. This principle works everywhere in relationships, at work, even within yourself. When someone tries to provoke you, your silence disarms them. When you do not react, you break their control. When you stay calm, you maintain power. The person who needs to respond immediately is controlled by emotion. The one who pauses is guided by intention. Of course, there will be moments when it feels impossible. When someone disrespects you deeply, or situations spiral beyond logic. In those moments, remind yourself reacting may win the moment, but it loses the long game. Your peace is too precious to trade for temporary satisfaction. Sometimes walking away is not avoidance, it is evolution. In ancient Japanese culture, samurai practiced a code called mushin, the state of no mind. It meant acting without anger, fear, or ego. They trained their minds to stay calm even in battle because emotion made them vulnerable. That same principle applies to everyday life. The person who can stay calm when others panic becomes the anchor in the storm. To build this strength, practice detachment. Detachment is not indifference, it is understanding that not everything requires a reaction. When you stop reacting to every emotion, every opinion, every noise, you begin to hear your own clarity. You begin to lead your emotions instead of following them. Next time someone disrespects you, ask yourself, what do I lose by staying calm? The answer is always nothing. Calmness costs nothing but gains everything. Respect presence and power. People may mistake your silence for weakness, but silence is only weak when it hides fear. When it comes from strength, it is the loudest message in the room. So the next time life tries to shake you, breathe. When your mind screams to react, breathe. When anger burns through your veins, breathe. Stillness is your weapon. Your calmness is your armor. You do not need to fight every battle. Some are won by refusing to participate. If you can master your reactions, you can master your destiny. Because no external force can control the person who has learned to control themselves. You do not need to prove your strength. Your peace will prove it for you. If you have reached this far, reflect on the last situation that disturbed your peace. What did it teach you? Did you react or did you remain? You cannot change the past, but you can change the next reaction. And that single decision might change the course of your entire life. If you found value in this message, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who is tired of being drained by things that do not matter. Remind them your calm is your power, and no one can take it unless you hand it over. Chapter 2. Emotional Detachment: How to Stay Calm When Everything Falls Apart. There comes a point in life when you realize that peace is not found in controlling everything. It is found in letting go of what you cannot. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the quiet art of standing in the middle of chaos and refusing to be owned by it. To master detachment is to master your emotional freedom. It is not that nothing affects you, but that nothing consumes you. Peace begins the moment you stop needing things to be a certain way. Most people think emotional detachment means you stop caring, but it is the opposite. Detachment means you care deeply, but with wisdom. You love without losing yourself. You give without expectation. You feel pain without collapsing into it. You understand that everything, people, emotion, situations is temporary. When you live with that awareness, you stop clinging and start flowing. Think of life as a river. You can either fight the current or learn to move with it. Most people struggle because they try to control the flow. They cling to outcomes, forcing things to happen on their timeline. But life does not bend to impatience. It unfolds on its own terms. Detachment means learning to trust that flow, to act without obsession, to strive without anxiety, to love without fear of loss. Emotional detachment is built through perspective. When something bad happens, most people zoom in so close that pain fills their entire vision. They forget that life is bigger than this moment, that every event, good or bad, is part of a larger story. Detachment allows you to zoom out. You stop asking why me and start asking what is this teaching me. That single shift turns suffering into strength. There is an ancient story of a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors came and said, "What bad luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." A few days later, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors said, "What good luck." The farmer again said, "Maybe." The next week, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses and broke his leg. "What terrible luck," the neighbors cried. "Maybe," said the farmer. A week later, soldiers came to recruit young men for war, but his son was spared because of his injury. The neighbors congratulated him on his good fortune. Once again, the farmer simply said, "Maybe." The lesson is simple: you do not know what is good or bad in the moment. Detachment means you stop labeling every event and allow life to reveal its meaning in time. When you detach, you become emotionally agile. You no longer break under disappointment because your identity is not tied to outcomes. You no longer overreact to rejection because you understand that every no is guiding you toward the right yes. You stop needing people to behave a certain way to feel at peace. You stop begging life to go your way. Instead, you meet it where it is and work from there. But detachment requires discipline. It requires you to step back from your own emotions and observe them like clouds passing through the sky. You are not your anger. You are not your sadness. You are not your anxiety. You are the sky itself, vast, steady, and clear. The emotions are weather. They come and go. When you identify as the sky, storms no longer scare you. There is a powerful practice from Stoic philosophy called the view from above. Imagine rising above the earth, seeing your life as one small thread in the vast fabric of existence. Your problems shrink not because they disappear, but because you see them in context. The argument, the deadline, the fear, they lose their power over you. You begin to realize that most of what disturbs you is temporary and meaningless in the grand scheme. That realization brings instant peace. Another form of detachment is learning to let people go with grace. Sometimes the hardest lesson is that you cannot save everyone. You cannot make someone love you, understand you, or treat you right. When you stop trying to control others, you free yourself. People leave. Plans fail. Situations change. Detachment teaches you that your peace does not depend on any of it. You carry your calm wherever you go. A man once asked a monk how to achieve peace. The monk replied, "I let go." The man asked again, "But how do you let go?" The monk smiled and said, "I let go of letting go. That is true detachment. It is effortless because it comes from understanding. You stop forcing yourself to release and simply stop clinging. When you learn this, you begin to see emotional detachment not as a wall, but as a window. Through it, you can see clearly without distortion. You can love someone and still walk away if needed. You can face uncertainty without panic. You can be in chaos and still breathe calmly. That is not detachment from life. It is mastery of it. Detachment also means learning to live without needing constant validation. The unbothered person does not need to prove their worth through attention. They do not measure happiness by how others treat them. They have built a source of peace so deep inside that external noise cannot reach it. That is why detached people are magnetic. They do not chase. They attract. Their calmness makes others feel safe. To develop this, practice emotional distance in small things. When your phone buzzes, do not rush. When someone disagrees with you, do not argue. When plans fall apart, breathe and say, "This too is part of the plan." Small acts of surrender build a strong foundation of serenity. Each time you choose peace over panic, you strengthen your inner power. Of course, detachment is not an excuse for passivity. It does not mean doing nothing. It means doing your best without losing your center. You can work hard, love deeply, and still remain peaceful. You act fully, but you do not cling to the outcome. You give everything, but you are not broken if it does not return. When you reach this level of detachment, life changes. You stop chasing temporary highs. You stop drowning in emotional lows. You stop reacting to every storm because you have built your house on rock, not sand. You start to live from peace, not for peace. So when life shakes you, do not cling tighter. Loosen your grip. Trust the process. Let life move through you instead of against you. You will find that when you stop resisting, everything begins to flow in your favor. If you have listened this far, take a moment to breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that is stealing my peace? What expectation can I release today? Detachment is not the end of feeling, it is the beginning of freedom. If this chapter touched you, share it. Someone you know might be drowning in overthinking, clinging to things that no longer serve them. Remind them peace is not found in control. It is found in surrender. And when you learn to let go, nothing can shake you again. Chapter 3, The Silent Strength. How to stay powerful without proving anything. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. True power does not need noise. It radiates quietly. It is seen in composure, not in confrontation. It is felt in presence, not in performance. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are not pretending to be above others. You are reminding yourself that your worth does not depend on their opinions. You rise above because arguing with noise only makes you part of it. Silence is the language of those who no longer need to explain themselves. Every day, the world will test your ability to stay still. Someone will challenge your patience. Someone will question your worth. Someone will misunderstand your intentions. The immature mind fights to defend itself, but the wise mind smiles and lets time reveal the truth. Because what you defend reveals what you are insecure about, and what you ignore reveals what you have mastered. There is a story told about a lion walking through the jungle. The dogs bark, the birds scream, the monkeys chatter, but the lion keeps walking. He does not turn around. He does not respond. Why? Because he knows who he is. His silence is not weakness, it is awareness. A lion does not argue with barking dogs. Likewise, when you know your worth, you do not lower yourself to every argument, insult, or misunderstanding. You protect your energy by choosing silence over reaction. The world rewards those who can stay calm under pressure. In business, in relationships, in leadership, those who maintain composure hold the advantage. Because while others are distracted by emotion, you remain focused on results. Your silence confuses those who expect a fight. Your calmness disarms those who thrive on chaos. Your restraint unsettles those who depend on your reaction to feel powerful. That is silent strength. It does not fight to win. It wins by not fighting. But to reach that level, you must unlearn the need to prove. You must stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you. You must stop seeking validation from those who cannot even validate themselves. When you realize that people see you through the filter of their own wounds, you stop taking things personally. Their judgment is not about you, it is about the limits of their perception. Stillness does not mean weakness, it means discipline. The most dangerous person in the room is not the one who shouts, but the one who watches quietly, calculating, grounded, patient. Because calmness allows you to see the full picture while others are blinded by emotion. The calm mind is strategic. The reactive mind is chaotic. Every time you hold your tongue when ego tempts you to speak, you sharpen your inner blade. There was a man who once sought revenge on someone who betrayed him. His mentor said, "The best revenge is no revenge. Silence and success will say what words cannot." So the man turned his pain into purpose. Years later, his success became the answer his anger once demanded. That is what silence does. It speaks in results, not in reactions. In a world obsessed with attention, silence has become a superpower. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, acknowledged. But the one who can stay centered without needing approval becomes unshakable. The moment you no longer need to prove yourself, you become magnetic. People sense confidence that does not depend on validation. That kind of strength cannot be faked. It is built through inner peace. Stillness also protects you from manipulation. There are people who thrive on emotional reactions because it gives them control. They provoke you, watch you explode, then use your reaction against you. But when you remain calm, you starve their power. You show them that your emotions are not for sale, that your peace is not a game they can play with. There is wisdom in saying less. Sometimes the most powerful statement is no statement at all. When people try to drag you into gossip, chaos, or conflict, your silence sends a clearer message than any argument could. It says, "I am not available for nonsense." It says, "My energy is too expensive to waste here." That is how strong people move. They conserve their energy for creation, not confrontation. Think of the most composed leaders in history. Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. Their power did not come from noise, but from presence. Their silence carried more weight than their enemies' shouts. Because silence rooted in conviction speaks louder than words spoken from fear. The world feels that kind of power. It is rare and it commands respect. But silence alone is not enough. It must come from understanding, not avoidance. There is a difference between being quiet out of fear and being quiet out of wisdom. One is weakness, the other is mastery. The silent strength you seek is not about withdrawing from life, but about engaging with it from a higher vibration. It is about choosing peace when chaos would be easier. To cultivate this strength, practice self-control in small moments. When someone interrupts you, pause before responding. When someone criticizes you unfairly, breathe before defending yourself. When you feel the urge to prove your point, ask yourself, does this serve my peace or just my ego? Most of the time, silence will serve you better. You will also learn that your silence teaches others how to treat you. When you stop reacting to disrespect, it loses its effect. When you stop chasing explanations, people start to respect your boundaries. Silence is not submission, it is self-respect. It says, "I am not lowering my energy to match yours." But remember, silence is most powerful when paired with consistency. You cannot stay calm one day and chaotic the next. You must train your nervous system to return to calm as a default state. That is where meditation, journaling, and reflection help. These practices teach you to hold stillness even when the world shakes you. Over time, that stillness becomes your identity. In relationships, silent strength becomes your greatest gift. You stop arguing to be understood and start listening to understand. You realize that most conflicts are not about truth, they are about ego. When you stop needing to win, love begins to grow. When you stop needing to prove, connection deepens. Silence creates space for real communication to breathe. And in your personal growth, silence becomes your compass. It guides you through noise, confusion, and distraction. The world screams for your attention, but silence whispers the truth. It is in that quiet that you hear your intuition again, the part of you that knows what to do without needing validation. If you have made it this far, take this truth with you. Your silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. Every time you choose not to react, you are not avoiding the moment. You are mastering it. Every time you stay calm when others lose control, you rise above. Every time you walk away with peace instead of pride, you win. You do not need to announce your strength. Real strength announces itself through peace, through presence, through the calm that confuses chaos. That is silent strength, and once you build it, nothing outside you can shake what you have built within. If this chapter spoke to you, take a deep breath and promise yourself this: the next time you are tested, you will not react. You will rise. You will let silence speak. And you will remember that peace is not passive, it is powerful. Chapter 4, The Art of Not Taking Things Personally, Building an Unshakable Mind. There is a quiet kind of freedom that only comes when you stop taking things personally. It is the freedom to walk through the world without being wounded by every careless word, every unfair opinion, every moment of rejection. Most people live in emotional captivity, reacting to what others say or think, as if their value were up for debate. But once you realize that people's opinions are not about you, they are about them, you become untouchable. You are not responsible for the projections that others throw onto you. You are only responsible for the peace you protect within yourself. We all grow up believing that how people treat us defines who we are. If they love us, we feel worthy. If they reject us, we feel broken. This belief is a trap that keeps us at the mercy of others' moods and insecurities. The truth is, people do not see you as you are. They see you through the filter of their own experiences, wounds, and limitations. Their words reflect their world, not your worth. Imagine someone calls you arrogant for speaking confidently. Another calls you insecure for being quiet. Who is right? Neither. They are simply describing how your energy makes them feel based on their own insecurities. When you stop needing to fit into others' perceptions, you begin to live authentically. You stop editing yourself to be liked and start expressing yourself to be real. Not taking things personally begins with understanding that everyone is fighting invisible battles. The person who insults you might be projecting their self-hatred. The one who ignores you might be drowning in their own fears. The one who doubts you might be terrified of your potential. When you remember this, compassion replaces anger and understanding replaces offense. You stop asking, why are they treating me this way, and start asking what pain inside them might be speaking right now. There is an old saying, if someone gives you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does it belong? The same is true with insults, criticism, and judgment. When someone throws negativity your way, it only becomes yours if you accept it. When you refuse to take it personally, it returns to them and you remain free. One of the greatest tests of maturity is staying peaceful when misunderstood. Most people cannot stand to be misjudged. They rush to explain, to defend, to prove themselves. But the wise know that truth does not need defending. Time reveals everything. When you stop chasing validation, you gain power. Because every time you react to false judgment, you hand your peace over to someone unworthy of it. Think of a calm lake. When the wind blows, the surface ripples, but the depth remains still. That is how your mind must become. The words of others may disturb the surface of your thoughts, but deep down your sense of self remains untouched. You do not let small waves define your ocean. There is a story of a monk who was once insulted by a warrior. The warrior screamed at him, calling him weak and useless. The monk simply smiled. The warrior, furious, demanded, "Why are you not angry?" The monk replied, "If someone gives you a gift and you do not take it, to whom does it belong?" The warrior fell silent. The monk had taught him that power lies not in reaction, but in refusal. When you stop taking things personally, you stop living in emotional reaction mode. You become grounded, rational, and steady. People can love you or hate you, praise you or criticize you, and you remain the same. That consistency builds inner strength, the kind of strength that cannot be manipulated. But make no mistake, this does not mean you stop caring. It means you care deeply about what truly matters, your peace, your purpose, your principles, and stop wasting energy on things that do not. You no longer argue with every opinion or chase every approval because your focus has shifted inward. You are no longer performing for the crowd. You are becoming whole within yourself. There will always be people who misunderstand you. Some will judge your silence as arrogance, your kindness as weakness, your confidence as ego. Let them. The truth needs no defense, and you need no approval. The ones meant to understand you will feel your heart without needing your explanation. The rest were never your audience. When you internalize this, your life changes. Conversations become lighter. Conflicts dissolve faster. You stop reliving painful words in your mind because you know they were never really about you. Your peace stops depending on how others act. You become emotionally self-sufficient, an unshakable mind in a fragile world. There is deep strength in the one who can smile through misunderstanding, because they understand that life is too short to argue over illusions. They know that peace is not the absence of insult, but the presence of self-awareness. Every time you choose not to take something personally, you are not avoiding the situation, you are mastering yourself. If someone betrays you, learn from it, but do not let it define you. If someone mocks you, observe it, but do not let it shrink you. If someone doubts you, smile and let your results answer. The more you stop reacting, the more others' control over you fades. Soon the world's noise no longer dictates your inner calm. The truth is, when you no longer take things personally, you free yourself from emotional slavery. You stop being a puppet pulled by others' words. You stop feeling the need to correct every misjudgment or chase every lost connection. You start walking in quiet confidence, knowing that your energy speaks louder than your explanations ever could. And the irony is, once you stop taking things personally, people start respecting you more. Because your peace becomes power, your calmness becomes mystery, your silence becomes influence. They realize they cannot shake you, and that makes them listen. So the next time someone criticizes you, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is this about me or about their pain? The next time someone misunderstands your intentions, breathe and let it go. The truth will find its way. Do not waste your peace defending what time will reveal. If you have felt the sting of judgment lately, let this be your reminder: no one's words can touch your truth unless you let them. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your peace. Your calm is your crown, wear it proudly. If this message resonated with you, share it. Someone you know might still be losing sleep over others' opinions. Help them remember, the moment you stop taking things personally, you start living freely. And freedom, my friend, is the highest form of strength. Chapter 5. Mastering the Pause, the Secret Weapon of Emotional Intelligence. In every heated argument, every stressful meeting, every emotional storm, there exists a small sacred space between stimulus and response. That space is your power. Most people never find it. They react instantly, driven by ego, fear, or pride. But those who master the art of the pause control the moment. They hold their power instead of handing it away. In that brief pause, your emotions bow to your awareness, and wisdom steps forward to lead. Between what happens and how you react lies your freedom. Those who own that space own themselves. The human mind is fast, impulsive, and emotional by design. When we feel attacked, the body floods with adrenaline, and the tongue races ahead of reason. But the pause, that one conscious breath, breaks the cycle. It gives your higher self a chance to speak before your ego does. The pause is not weakness. It is control disguised as stillness. It is the difference between saying something you regret and saying something that transforms. Think about the last time you reacted out of anger. Maybe you sent a message too quickly, raised your voice, or shut someone out. Later, calm returned and regret followed. The situation was not ruined by what happened, but by the lack of pause between feeling and reacting. Now imagine if, in that same moment, you had paused for just 3 seconds to breathe, to observe, to decide. Everything would have changed. The pause is like a sword kept in its sheath, ready but restrained. It is the quiet strength of the warrior who knows that reaction is cheap, but restraint is rare. You learn to respond, not react. And every time you do, you build your inner authority. You prove to yourself that emotions serve you, you do not serve them. There is a story of a great samurai who was insulted by a drunk man in the village square. The crowd waited for the warrior to strike, but he simply smiled and walked away. Later, someone asked, "Why did you not defend your honor?" The samurai replied, "When someone offers you poison, you can choose not to drink it. That is what the pause gives you, the power to choose your peace over your pride." The pause also changes how people perceive you. A calm person in chaos commands attention. When others expect reaction, but you respond with poise, you become unpredictable in the best way. You no longer move at the mercy of other people's emotions. You move by your own timing. The pause gives your words more weight, your silence more meaning, your presence more gravity. In relationships, mastering the pause can save connection after connection. When emotions rise and words sharpen, pausing before speaking gives both hearts room to breathe. Sometimes people do not need answers. They need understanding, and understanding requires presence. When you pause, you listen not to reply, but to truly hear. You allow empathy to replace defensiveness. That single shift can turn an argument into a moment of healing. Leaders, too, rise above the rest when they master the pause. A leader who reacts impulsively creates chaos. A leader who pauses commands respect, because pausing allows reflection, and reflection allows wisdom. The strongest leaders do not speak first. They listen, observe, and then speak with precision. The pause is what separates leadership from noise. But make no mistake, the pause is not passive. It is active awareness. It is your conscious choice to delay reaction until it serves your values. It requires discipline to stay centered while your emotions demand action. Yet with practice, it becomes natural. You start noticing your body before your mind explodes, your tightening jaw, your quickening breath, your rising tone. These are signals. The pause begins when you start paying attention to them. A practical way to cultivate this is through what monks call the sacred breath. Whenever you feel triggered, take one deep inhale and exhale slowly before responding. That single breath shifts your brain from reaction to reflection. It gives your nervous system a chance to reset. Over time, that breath becomes your armor. It protects you from saying what anger wants, but wisdom regrets. Another way to strengthen the pause is through journaling. Each night, reflect on moments where you reacted instead of paused. Write about how it felt, what you could have done differently, and what you learned. Over time, awareness builds habit. The next time a similar situation arises, your mind will remember and pause naturally. The pause also teaches you humility. It reminds you that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every criticism requires defense. When you learn to pause, you learn to conserve energy. You stop wasting emotional fuel on things that will not matter in a week, a month, or a year. You begin to act from clarity instead of chaos. It is said that masters of life do not move fast. They move deliberately. The pause gives you that mastery. It turns your reactions into responses and your impulses into intentions. You start shaping moments instead of being shaped by them. Life slows down just enough for you to see clearly, choose wisely, and speak powerfully. Even in failure or conflict, the pause keeps you grounded. When life hits hard, you do not rush to escape discomfort. You pause to learn from it. You ask, what is this trying to teach me, instead of why is this happening to me? The pause transforms pain into perspective. It turns frustration into focus. And most importantly, the pause protects your peace. It becomes the gatekeeper of your emotional world. Because not everything deserves access to your energy. The pause is your way of saying, I decide what enters and what stays. You become the guardian of your calm, no longer reacting to every storm that passes by. If you start practicing the pause even once a day, your relationships will deepen. Your confidence will rise and your presence will grow magnetic. People will start saying, there's something about you, something steady, unshakable. That something is control, that something is wisdom. So the next time someone tests your patience or challenges your peace, do not react. Breathe, wait, observe, let silence stretch. And then when you do speak or act, let it be from your highest self, not your triggered one. If this message reached you at the right moment, hold it close. Master the pause and you will master your emotions. Master your emotions and you will master your life. If you found this chapter helpful, share it with someone who reacts too quickly, who forgets their strength in the heat of emotion. Remind them peace is not found in control. It is found in the pause. Chapter 6. Unbothered confidence. The energy that silences doubt. Confidence is not walking into a room thinking you are better than everyone else. It is walking in without needing to compare yourself at all. True confidence is quiet, unbothered, rooted. It is the stillness of someone who has nothing to prove and no one to impress. It is not loud because it does not need validation. It is not defensive because it is grounded in truth. Confidence like that makes noise without speaking a word. Confidence is not arrogance, it is assurance without aggression. The world often confuses arrogance with confidence, but the difference is simple. Arrogance needs to be seen. Confidence is content to be. Arrogance shouts, confidence whispers. Arrogance demands attention, confidence commands it. The unbothered kind of confidence does not chase, it attracts. It does not beg for approval. It radiates self-trust so deeply that others feel it before they even understand it. But how do you reach that level of calm assurance? It begins with self-awareness. You cannot be confident in a version of yourself you do not know. Many people build fake confidence layers of pride, performance, and perfectionism that crumble at the first sign of rejection. Real confidence grows when you stop performing for acceptance and start standing on authenticity. It is not about being perfect, it is about being real. When you know who you are, criticism becomes feedback, not an attack. Rejection becomes redirection, not a wound. Silence from others becomes space for reflection, not punishment. You stop chasing external validation because you realize that nothing anyone says can change the truth you carry within. Confidence begins the moment you stop asking for permission to exist as yourself. There is a story about a sculptor who spent months carving a magnificent lion out of marble. When people saw it, they asked, "How did you create such perfection?" The sculptor replied, "I simply chipped away everything that was not the lion." Confidence works the same way. It is not about adding more, it is about removing everything that hides your natural strength: fear, doubt, comparison, and approval seeking. What remains is power. You must also understand that unbothered confidence is not about never feeling insecure. Everyone feels doubt at times. The difference is that confident people do not let doubt dictate their behavior. They feel it, face it, and move anyway. They act before they feel ready because they trust themselves to adapt. They know that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act despite it. When you start carrying that energy, life changes. People respond to you differently. They start to listen when you speak, respect your silence, and sense your boundaries without you having to enforce them loudly. You stop needing to explain yourself because your energy does the speaking. Confidence is not in words, it is in presence. There is something magnetic about a person who is calm in their own skin. They do not chase attention, but attention naturally gravitates toward them. They do not react to small provocations because they know their worth is not on trial. They walk through noise without losing their rhythm. That energy cannot be faked. It comes from years of self-acceptance, of learning to be at peace with imperfection. Confidence also grows from competence. The more you practice your craft, the less you need to prove it. The more you invest in growth, the less you fear judgment. Because confidence without competence is arrogance. But competence without confidence is wasted potential. The balance is built through preparation and presence. Do the work, then let go. One of the greatest obstacles to unbothered confidence is overthinking. You rehearse every conversation, analyze every expression, fear every judgment. But overthinking is simply distrust, disguised as caution. You think too much when you trust yourself too little. The antidote is action. The more you move, the more you learn that the world does not end when you make mistakes. Each experience builds proof that you can handle whatever comes. Confidence is cumulative. It grows through action, not imagination. Learn also to embrace solitude. The unbothered mind does not fear being alone because it no longer depends on external validation to feel whole. Solitude becomes strength when you use it to understand yourself instead of escape yourself. Time alone teaches you to be your own ally, your own motivator, your own comfort. When you reach that stage, no rejection can shake you because you are no longer waiting to be chosen. You already chose yourself. In conversation, confidence reveals itself in listening more than talking. When you are secure, you do not interrupt to prove your intelligence. You let silence breathe. You ask questions with genuine curiosity instead of fear of being wrong. In a world where everyone tries to be interesting, confident people focus on being interested, and that is what makes them unforgettable. In adversity, confidence reveals itself in calm. The unbothered person faces chaos with the steady knowing that they will figure it out. They do not need instant answers because they trust their process. They know that no storm lasts forever, and no failure defines them. Their peace becomes their power, and that power draws respect without demand. Confidence is also built through integrity, doing what you say you will do. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build inner trust. Every time you face fear, instead of running from it, you strengthen your backbone. Confidence does not grow from talking about your goals. It grows from doing the hard things quietly, consistently. When you act as if nothing bothers you, it is not about suppressing emotion. It is about prioritizing peace. You choose where to spend your energy. You decide which battles are worth fighting. You let go of proving points to those who cannot see your value. You realize that your calm is not indifference, it is emotional intelligence. Over time, unbothered confidence becomes your default. You stop rushing to respond to negativity. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop chasing closure from those who were never meant to understand you. You live lighter, freer, and stronger. People may still misunderstand you, but they can no longer control you. The world will always test your confidence. It will throw criticism, silence, and comparison your way. But remember, every test is an invitation to rise above. When you choose to stay calm, you send a message to the universe. My peace is my priority. That message attracts everything that aligns with strength, purpose, and grace. If you have listened this far, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, when was the last time I trusted myself completely? When was the last time I stood tall without apology? The unbothered life begins when you stop performing for approval and start living in truth. If this chapter spoke to you, share it. Someone you know might still be confusing arrogance with confidence, mistaking noise for strength. Remind them real confidence is quiet, grounded, and unshakable. It does not shout, it shines. Chapter 7. The Power of Emotional Control, Becoming the Calm in Every Storm. There are two kinds of people in every storm, the one who becomes the storm and the one who becomes the calm. Life constantly throws challenges, disappointments, and unpredictable moments our way. Most people let emotions drag them like waves: anger, fear, sadness, envy. They get lost in reaction. But the ones who master emotional control, they do not escape emotion, they understand it. They feel everything, yet remain still inside. That stillness is power. Control your emotions before your emotions control you. Emotional control is not suppression, it is direction. Suppression means you bury what you feel, pretending it does not exist. Control means you acknowledge the feeling but choose how to act on it. There is a massive difference between saying I am angry and anger controls me. One is self-awareness, the other is slavery. When you control your emotions, you become the master of your reality. Most people live reactive lives because they mistake emotion for identity. I am angry, they say, instead of I feel anger. The first statement traps you, the second frees you. Feelings are visitors. They come, they teach, they leave. The problem is when you let them move in permanently. Emotional control means learning to welcome emotion without letting it take over the house. There is a story about a king who wanted to test his warriors. He told them that whoever could stand in silence while being insulted for 1 hour would be named commander. Every warrior failed. They all reacted. Until one day, a calm young soldier stood in front of the crowd and said nothing while people mocked him. After an hour, the king smiled and said, "The one who can control himself can lead others." That is the essence of strength, not in overpowering others, but in mastering yourself. Life will always test you. People will provoke you. Situations will trigger you. The emotionally immature person reacts instantly. They say things they later regret. They break things they later miss. But the emotionally intelligent person breathes. They pause. They observe. Then they respond with clarity. They understand that a calm mind sees solutions, while a reactive mind only sees problems. Emotional control does not mean you never feel deeply. In fact, it allows you to feel even more deeply, because your emotions no longer frighten you. You can face sadness without drowning anger, without exploding fear, without freezing. You can sit with pain until it teaches you what you need to know. This kind of power is quiet, invisible, and unshakable. To develop emotional control, start by observing your triggers. Notice what makes you lose your calm, what words, what people, what patterns. The more awareness you bring to these triggers, the less power they have. You cannot control what you do not understand. When you name the feeling, you tame the feeling. Another key is to slow down your reactions. When something bothers you, your nervous system activates instantly. Your heart beats faster, your body tenses, your thoughts spiral. The best response is to slow everything down. Breathe deeply. Count to 3 before replying. Walk away if needed. The longer you can stretch the gap between emotion and action, the more control you gain over the moment. There is wisdom in emotional distance. You can still care without being consumed. You can still engage without being entangled. When you learn to detach emotionally, you gain perspective. You see that most things that upset you are temporary. Most arguments are ego battles. Most pain is resistance to what you cannot change. Emotional control means choosing peace over drama, clarity over chaos. In relationships, this mastery becomes invaluable. When your partner, friend, or colleague reacts emotionally, your calmness can transform the situation. Instead of matching their energy, you ground it. Instead of escalating, you de-escalate. People feel safe around those who can stay calm when others lose control. That safety builds trust, and trust builds influence. But make no mistake, emotional control is not coldness. It is compassion in discipline. It means you can listen to someone's anger without absorbing it. You can comfort without collapsing. You can love without losing yourself. That is not detachment, it is emotional maturity. There is a phrase in Zen, be like a tree. Let the leaves rustle but stay rooted. The world will always rustle around you. People will misunderstand, criticize, or provoke you. Your emotions will try to drag you into their storm. But if you are rooted in awareness, nothing can uproot your peace. You bend but do not break. In moments of deep emotion, betrayal, failure, loss, remind yourself emotions are signals, not sentences. They are there to teach, not to trap. Anger teaches you about boundaries. Fear teaches you about growth. Sadness teaches you about love. But once you learn the lesson, let the feeling go. Holding on only poisons the soul. The practice of emotional control is also about energy management. Your emotional energy is your currency. Every reaction spends it. Every argument drains it. The wise invest it only where it grows value on purpose, not provocation. You begin to ask, is this worth my peace? Most things are not. One of the best ways to strengthen emotional control is to practice calm under minor stress. For instance, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when technology fails, when someone criticizes you unfairly. Use these moments as training grounds. Each time you respond with patience instead of frustration, you build resilience. You are rewiring your nervous system to remain composed no matter the storm. Over time, you realize that emotional control gives you freedom. You are no longer a puppet pulled by external events. You are no longer enslaved by reaction. You begin to live intentionally. You move through life like a still lake, reflective, deep, undisturbed. The storms may rage, but the surface soon settles because you know who you are beneath it all. When you control your emotions, you stop feeding drama. You stop chasing closure. You stop explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand. You protect your peace fiercely because you finally understand its value. And that peace, that calm, that inner quiet becomes your greatest weapon in a chaotic world. If you have come this far, take a breath. Ask yourself, what emotion controls me most often? Then decide today that it will no longer own you. Feel it, learn from it, release it. That is mastery. If this chapter spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs it. The world does not need more noise, it needs more calm. Remind them your emotions are meant to serve you, not steer you. And when you learn to stay calm in every storm, you become the storm's end. Chapter 8. The Art of Emotional Detachment, How to Care Deeply Without Falling Apart. There is a subtle kind of power that most people never learn, the power of emotional detachment. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you care so wisely, so calmly, that your peace is never at the mercy of someone else's behavior. Emotional detachment is not indifference. It is emotional intelligence refined by experience. It is the strength to stay kind without losing yourself. Care but do not carry. That one sentence could change your entire emotional world. Because what breaks most people is not caring, it is carrying what was never theirs to hold. You cannot save everyone. You cannot control how others behave, respond, or reciprocate. You can love purely, speak honestly, give generously, but the moment you begin to carry the emotional weight of someone else's choices, you lose the balance that keeps you whole. Emotional detachment is the art of balance between connection and independence. It allows you to engage deeply in relationships while maintaining your own inner anchor. You listen to others, but you do not drown in their pain. You give love freely, but you do not beg for it in return. You stay open, yet untouchable. That is the paradox of strength, soft enough to feel strong enough not to crumble. Most people misunderstand detachment. They think it means becoming cold or distant. But real detachment is love purified of neediness. It is compassion without dependency. It is being fully present with someone while knowing that their emotions are not your responsibility. You can stand beside them in their storm without being swept away by it. Why is this so hard? Because from childhood we are taught that love equals attachment, that caring means suffering together, that empathy means absorption. We learn to prove love through sacrifice, to show loyalty through pain. But this conditioning confuses pain with depth. True love is not meant to drown you, it is meant to expand you. Imagine holding a beautiful bird. You can admire it, feed it, and care for it. But if you grip it too tightly, you crush it. Detachment is the open hand. It gives space for freedom while still offering warmth. When you love with detachment, your love becomes unconditional because it no longer depends on control or expectation. There is a story of an old monk who walked into a river each morning to meditate. One day he saw a scorpion struggling in the water. He reached out to save it and it stung him. He pulled back, then reached again. It stung him once more. A passerby shouted, "Why are you helping something that keeps hurting you?" The monk replied, "Because it is in its nature to sting, and it is in mine to save." That is detachment, not rescuing for validation, but acting from integrity, even when others do not change. When you learn to detach, you stop taking things personally. You realize that people's actions reflect their inner state, not your worth. Their silence, their rejection, their indifference, none of it defines you. Emotional detachment means understanding that what they do is about them. How you respond is about you. To practice detachment, start with awareness. Every time you feel triggered by someone's words or behavior, pause and ask, what am I trying to control right now? Most pain comes from resistance, wanting people to act differently, situations to unfold faster, outcomes to align with our plans. But detachment teaches surrender, not giving up, but letting go of the illusion that you can control everything. The next step is boundaries. You cannot detach if you do not define where you end and others begin. Emotional boundaries protect your peace. They remind you that you can empathize without absorbing support, without solving love, without losing. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They let love in but keep toxicity out. Detachment also requires you to stop chasing closure. Sometimes people leave without explanation, conversations end, unresolved emotions linger unanswered. Detachment allows you to find peace in incompletion. You learn to say, I may never understand everything, but I choose peace anyway. That choice releases immense emotional energy. There is another kind of detachment, the one from outcomes. When you do your best but still obsess over results, you suffer twice, once in the effort and again in the waiting. Detachment from outcome means giving your best, then surrendering to time. It means trusting that what is meant for you will arrive when it is meant to, not when you demand it to. When you live detached, your relationships transform. You stop trying to fix people. You stop begging to be understood. You stop over-explaining yourself. You realize that peace is more important than being right, and silence is stronger than reaction. You begin to choose yourself without guilt. That shift changes everything, because once you no longer fear losing people, you connect from freedom, not fear. Some people will mistake your detachment for coldness because they are used to chaos disguised as passion. They will say you have changed because you no longer overreact. Smile gently when they say that. They cannot yet understand that peace is not apathy, it is power. It is the quiet energy of someone who has finally learned that nothing external can shake internal stability. As you grow in detachment, you will notice that you start enjoying your own company more. Solitude will no longer feel like emptiness, but like clarity. You will stop craving constant validation because you will have built a home within yourself. You will stop running toward things that drain you because peace will become too expensive to trade away. Detachment does not mean disconnecting from the world. It means engaging with it more skillfully. You still love work, dream, and connect, but you do it from a place of inner fullness. You no longer act from desperation, but from purpose. You no longer cling, you create. You no longer beg, you attract. Remember this truth. You can love someone and still walk away if peace requires it. You can forgive someone and never speak again. You can wish someone well and still protect your energy. Detachment gives you permission to let go without bitterness, to move forward without resentment, to live lightly yet deeply. If you have made it this far, reflect on this question. What am I still holding on to that is holding me back? Perhaps it is a memory, a person, an outcome, or an identity. Whatever it is, bless it and release it. Let life breathe again. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. They may still believe that caring means carrying, that love means losing themselves. Remind them peace is not built on attachment. It is built on alignment. Chapter 9. Silence speaks louder, the strength of saying nothing. There comes a time when words no longer serve you. When you have explained, defended, justified, and still remain misunderstood. That is the moment silence becomes your language. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom in its purest form. It is the power to hold your truth without needing to prove it. It is the confidence of knowing that the truth will always reveal itself in time, even if your lips never move. Silence is not the absence of response, it is the presence of control. In a world where everyone rushes to be heard, silence has become a rare form of strength. People think the loudest voice wins, but it is often the quiet one that carries the most impact. When you master silence, you stop wasting your energy on explanations that do not change hearts and arguments that only feed ego. You no longer need to fight every battle because you have learned that not every noise deserves your voice. Silence protects your energy. Every time you react, you spend emotional currency. Every unnecessary argument drains your power. The silent person is not empty, they are conserving strength. They understand that silence is not the lack of emotion. It is the choice to channel it inward rather than outward. The one who can remain silent when provoked holds more control than the one who shouts in defense. There is a story of a samurai who was challenged by a young, arrogant warrior known for insulting his opponents to provoke them into mistakes. The samurai accepted the challenge, but no matter what the young man said, he stayed silent and calm. The young warrior eventually tired himself out, humiliated by his own frustration. The samurai's students asked, "Why did you let him speak to you like that?" The samurai replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, who does it still belong to? That is the essence of silence. You do not accept what does not belong to you." Most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. When you stop talking, your mind reveals its noise. You begin to hear the thoughts you have been drowning in conversation. But this discomfort is where growth happens. Silence is not empty, it is full of answers waiting to be heard. When you embrace it, you gain clarity that noise can never give. Silence also gives you presence. In conversation, the most powerful person is not the one who speaks the most, but the one who listens the deepest. Listening builds understanding. It allows you to see beyond words, to feel what is not being said. When you listen with full attention, people trust you because they feel seen. Silence creates space for others to reveal themselves. In conflict, silence disarms ego. When someone tries to provoke you, your silence unsettles them. It denies them the fuel they crave. Anger feeds on reaction, but dies in stillness. Silence becomes your armor. It says, "I choose peace over performance." You no longer argue to be right, you let truth prove itself through time and behavior. There is an ancient proverb that says, "The tree that bears the most fruit bends the lowest." True strength is humble. It does not boast. It does not need to announce itself. Likewise, people with real power rarely shout about it. Their silence speaks through their consistency, their calm, their results. You can feel their energy without hearing a single word. Silence is also a teacher. When you stop filling every gap with noise, you learn to notice patterns, the way people move, the tone behind their words, the energy behind their actions. Silence trains perception. It sharpens intuition. You begin to understand that people reveal more in silence than in speech. You start to sense truth even when it is unspoken. But silence must come from strength, not avoidance. It is not about escaping confrontation. It is about choosing peace with intention. There is a difference between being silent because you fear conflict and being silent because you know conflict is unnecessary. The first is submission. The second is mastery. In relationships, silence can be the greatest proof of maturity. When someone misunderstands you, you no longer rush to explain. You let time speak. You understand that people hear only from their level of awareness. And sometimes silence is the only language they can learn from. When you respond with calm, your energy communicates louder than words ever could. When you are silent, you gain the ability to observe. Observation gives you wisdom. You begin to see how often people reveal their intentions without realizing it. You learn to discern who respects your silence and who feels threatened by it. Those who are comfortable with your silence are the ones who value your depth. Those who demand constant explanation are the ones who thrive on control. There is sacredness in silence that modern life has forgotten. The world glorifies expression. Tweet it, post it, explain it, defend it, but wisdom whispers, say less. The more you speak, the more you give away your power. Silence keeps you unpredictable. It keeps your peace sacred. It reminds you that you do not owe anyone your emotional availability just because they demand it. In the quiet moments alone, without distraction, your true power grows. You begin to understand your emotions instead of projecting them. You process pain instead of performing it. You find peace not in having the right words, but in having the right presence. You realize that silence is not emptiness, it is alignment. The greatest transformations happen in silence. Seeds grow in silence. Hearts heal in silence. Dreams build in silence. The universe does its best work quietly, and so can you. You do not need to announce every move, every change, every victory. The world will see the results when it is time. Let your silence be your strength and your success be your voice. If you are listening now, remember this. Not every battle deserves your reply. Not every question deserves your explanation. Not every insult deserves your reaction. Sometimes silence is the loudest statement of all. If this chapter resonated with you, take a moment to sit in silence for 1 full minute after this ends. Feel how powerful it is to not say anything, to not defend, to not explain, just to be. Share this with someone who still confuses silence with weakness. Let them know silence is not surrender. It is self-mastery. Chapter 10. Stop explaining yourself. The freedom of living unapologetically. There comes a point in your journey when you grow tired of explaining yourself, of constantly justifying your choices, defending your peace, or proving your worth to those who were never meant to understand you. That moment marks the beginning of true freedom, because the need to explain is born from the need to be approved, and when you no longer seek approval, you become untouchable. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your peace. Most people live in silent captivity, bound by the opinions of others. They fear being misunderstood, so they over-explain. They fear being judged, so they overcompensate. They twist themselves into shapes that fit others' expectations, forgetting that every explanation is an invisible apology for being who they are. But when you stop explaining, you stop apologizing for your existence. You begin to stand in your truth, even if no one claps for it. The truth is, people will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you speak. They will interpret your silence as arrogance, your confidence as pride, your peace as distance. No matter what you do, someone will have something to say. You could spend your life explaining every decision, every change, every boundary, and still be misread. Freedom begins the moment you realize you do not need to convince anyone to see your heart. There is a quiet strength in saying less. You stop chasing understanding from those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop fighting for acceptance from those whose love is conditional. You learn that you can be kind without being available, generous without being used, and strong without needing to be loud. You start to value your energy more than your image. Think about how much time and emotion you have lost trying to make others see your intentions. The late-night messages, the overthought words, the regret after every argument. All of it was you begging to be seen. But those who truly see you never need long explanations. They feel your truth through your actions. The rest are not your responsibility. When you stop explaining, you reclaim your energy. That energy flows into creation instead of correction, peace instead of persuasion. You begin to live with integrity, not performance. You learn to walk away from conversations that go in circles, from people who twist your words, from situations that demand your emotional labor without respect. Your silence becomes your boundary. There is a story about a wise man who was accused of theft in his village. Though innocent, he said nothing in his defense. The people mocked him, shunned him, and whispered behind his back. Months later, the real thief was caught, and the villagers came to apologize. The wise man simply smiled and said, "I did not remain silent because I was guilty. I remained silent because truth does not panic." That is the essence of inner power. You trust truth to reveal itself even if the world doubts you. The habit of explaining yourself often comes from childhood, when approval meant safety. You learned that love was earned by pleasing, by being understood, by never disappointing. As adults, this turns into the compulsion to justify every choice, to prove your worthiness through explanation. But you are no longer that child. You no longer need to earn permission to be yourself. You can choose peace over performance now. Emotional maturity is learning to stay calm when others question you. When they say you have changed, you smile and say, I have grown. When they say you think you are better, you say, I just think differently. You no longer take it personally. You understand that people often project their discomfort with their own stagnation onto your transformation. Their confusion is not your burden. Stop explaining why you set boundaries. Stop explaining why you left toxic spaces. Stop explaining why you are choosing peace or why you no longer chase. Some people will never understand because your growth threatens their comfort. Let them stay confused. Let your peace be louder than your defense. There is freedom in being misunderstood and still at peace. It means you finally trust your truth enough to not decorate it with justification. You do not rush to fill silence with reasons. You do not edit your authenticity for acceptance. You know that understanding is not owed. It is earned through presence, respect, and time. And if someone cannot offer those, they do not deserve access to your inner world. When you stop explaining, you also stop defending your emotions. You no longer say, I am not angry, or I did not mean that, just to make others comfortable. You own your feelings with quiet grace. You say, yes, I am disappointed, or yes, that hurt, without shame. Because maturity is not in denial, it is in self-ownership. Living unapologetically means you are at peace with being misunderstood. It means you no longer explain your path to those who have never walked your pain. You no longer seek validation from those who could not handle your vulnerability. You walk your truth silently, knowing that those meant for you will understand without needing proof. There is beauty in mystery. When you stop over-explaining, you become unpredictable. You hold your power in stillness. People begin to wonder what drives your calm, what fuels your focus, what protects your peace. You no longer give away your map to those who only wish to criticize the journey. In every moment of explanation, pause and ask yourself, do I owe this explanation? Or am I afraid of disapproval? Most of the time, silence will be the wiser choice. You do not need to announce every decision, justify every boundary, or narrate every step. You can let your peace, your consistency, and your results speak for you. If someone truly respects you, they will not demand explanations. They will trust your intent. Those who constantly need justification are not seeking understanding. They are seeking control. Your refusal to over-explain is not arrogance, it is self-respect. It says, I know who I am and I am at peace with your confusion. If you have been living your life trying to make everyone understand, you take this as your permission to stop. Let go of the need to be liked by all. Stand tall in your silence. Let your peace offend those who thrive on chaos. You do not need to convince anyone that your boundaries are valid or that your choices make sense. They make sense to you, and that is enough. If these words reach you deeply, it is because you are ready to reclaim your power from over-explanation. You are ready to walk your truth without fear. You are ready to live unapologetically. Share this with someone who still explains themselves to those who never listen. Remind them peace does not beg to be understood. It simply is. Chapter 11. Detach from the need to be liked, the secret to unshakable freedom. For most of your life, you were trained to seek approval, to be agreeable, to fit in. From childhood, you learned that smiles earned safety, that compliance brought affection, that being good meant being accepted. But somewhere along the way, that habit turned into a silent prison. You began to measure your worth by how others saw you. You began to live not by truth, but by perception. You began to confuse being liked with being valued. The need to be liked is the quickest way to lose yourself. When you live for approval, you live half alive. Every decision is filtered through the question, what will they think? You shrink yourself to avoid judgment. You silence your truth to keep the peace. You smile when you want to scream, agree when you want to walk away. You become an actor in someone else's story. The tragedy, they will still judge you. No matter how careful you are, someone will still find fault. The freedom you seek will never come from pleasing others. It will only come from pleasing your soul. The truth is, people's opinions are mirrors reflecting their own limitations. Their judgments say more about them than about you. Some will dislike you because your confidence reminds them of their hesitation. Some will envy you because your peace highlights their chaos. Some will reject you simply because your presence demands authenticity. You cannot control perception, but you can control how deeply it affects you. There is a story about a man who carried a donkey on his shoulders while walking through a village. When asked why, he said, "Every time I let the donkey walk, someone complained. Some said it was cruel. Some said it was foolish. So now I carry it myself." The villagers laughed louder than ever. The moral is simple. You cannot please everyone. The moment you try, you lose your balance. Detaching from the need to be liked does not mean becoming careless or cruel. It means choosing truth over comfort, authenticity over approval. It means respecting others without betraying yourself. You can still be kind, still be compassionate, but you stop negotiating your identity to fit someone else's expectations. You learn that not everyone deserves access to your peace, and not every opinion deserves your attention. Ask yourself, how many times have you said yes when your soul screamed no? How many times have you tolerated disrespect just to keep harmony? How many times have you betrayed your own intuition to keep someone else comfortable? Every time you do that, you teach yourself that their peace matters more than your truth. But that is a lie. The only peace worth keeping is the one that comes from integrity. Detachment begins when you allow people to misunderstand you and stay calm. You stop correcting every false narrative. You stop defending every decision. You start saying, believe what you want. Because those who want to understand you will ask, and those who want to judge will never listen anyway. The moment you accept that life gets lighter, this detachment does not make you unkind. It makes you authentic. You begin to attract people who resonate with your truth rather than your performance. You stop being liked by everyone, but you start being loved by the right ones. Real connections do not require masks. They are built on honesty, not obligation. Freedom also comes when you stop fearing disapproval. The truth is, disapproval will not destroy you, it will liberate you. When you stop needing others to like you, you stop giving them the power to define you. You can walk away from manipulation, from emotional guilt, from environments that drain your light. You can finally say no, without explaining, without guilt, without hesitation. Most people will never realize how much energy they lose trying to maintain an image. The constant adjusting, filtering, pretending, it is exhausting. Detachment restores that energy. When you no longer perform for acceptance, you can use that power to create, to grow, to live with intention. You start living from within, not from without. There is a kind of silence that comes with self-acceptance. It is not defensive, it is peaceful. You stop rushing to prove your worth because you finally know it. You stop seeking validation because you finally trust your own voice. That stillness within you becomes magnetic. People feel it. They sense your wholeness, your strength, your serenity. They may not understand it, but they respect it. In relationships, detachment from approval is essential. When you no longer seek to be liked, you can finally love without fear. You no longer perform affection to be accepted. You no longer tolerate inconsistency just to avoid loneliness. You stop chasing people who only see your value when you beg for it. Detachment gives you the power to say, if you cannot meet me in peace, I release you with love. Some people will leave when you stop seeking their approval, and that is exactly what should happen. Their presence was never love. It was dependence. True love celebrates your freedom. It does not punish you for being authentic. The right people will like you not because you please them, but because you inspire them to be real too. To detach from the need to be liked, you must first like yourself. You must sit in silence long enough to meet who you are without applause. You must forgive your past self for chasing acceptance and thank that version of you for surviving. Then you must make a new promise to never again trade your authenticity for belonging. Detachment is not isolation, it is liberation. You no longer measure your value by popularity. You no longer shrink to fit rooms that cannot hold your truth. You live aligned with your own standards. You walk into a room knowing that even if no one claps, you still shine. Remember, those who love you will love you for your essence, not your performance. And those who leave when you stop performing are blessings in disguise. They clear space for authenticity to enter. Your only responsibility is to be true, not to be liked. If you have listened this far, you are already awakening. You are ready to stop explaining, stop pleasing, stop proving. You are ready to be whole. Take a deep breath and say silently to yourself, I release the need to be liked. I choose truth over approval. I choose peace over performance. If this chapter touched your spirit, share it. Someone you know may still be living in the prison of other people's opinions. Remind them you were not born to be liked. You were born to be free. Chapter 12. Master the art of emotional detachment. Stay calm when the world tries to shake you. There is a rare kind of strength that does not shout, argue, or chase. It is the power of calm detachment, the ability to remain centered no matter what unfolds around you. Most people mistake detachment for coldness. They think it means you stop caring. But true detachment is the opposite. It is caring deeply without losing yourself. It is seeing everything clearly, yet remaining untouched by chaos. It is the art of standing still in a storm. Peace is not the absence of chaos. It is the ability to remain centered within it. Emotional detachment is not indifference. It is mastery. It means your peace is no longer at the mercy of other people's moods, opinions, or behavior. It means you no longer react from impulse, but from intention. You stop absorbing other people's energy like a sponge. You stop letting small things disturb your equilibrium. You stop trying to control what is not yours to control. This kind of peace is power because it cannot be taken, it can only be surrendered. We live in a reactive world. People wake up already tense, scrolling through noise, feeding on outrage, waiting for something to offend them. Emotional reactivity has become the default setting. But when you learn to detach, you rise above that vibration. You become an observer of life instead of a prisoner of circumstance. You start noticing how quickly people lose themselves in their emotions, and you choose to stay still. You realize that most chaos is borrowed, not yours, not personal, just passing energy. There was once a monk who was insulted by a warrior. The warrior shouted, mocked, and tried to provoke him. The monk remained calm, simply watching. After several minutes, the warrior demanded, "Why do you not react? Are you a coward?" The monk smiled gently and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, who does it belong to?" The warrior was silent. The monk continued, "So it is with anger. I do not accept it. Therefore, it remains with you." That is emotional detachment in its purest form, refusing to accept what does not belong to your spirit. To master this art, you must first understand why you get triggered. Most of your emotional reactions are not about the present. They are echoes from the past. When someone disrespects you, it reawakens old wounds of rejection. When someone ignores you, it triggers memories of abandonment. Detachment requires awareness. It means catching the moment before you react, taking a breath and asking, "What is this really about?" you begin to separate your emotions from your identity. You realize that feelings are visitors, not residents. The strongest people are not those who never feel, but those who feel deeply and still choose clarity over chaos. They can watch their emotions rise and fall without drowning in them. They know that anger is temporary, that sadness will pass, that joy will return. They do not chase pleasure or resist pain. They allow life to flow through them without clinging or avoiding. This is the essence of emotional freedom. In a world that glorifies reaction, your calmness will be misunderstood. People will call you distant, emotionless, detached, but let them. They do not understand that stillness is strength. Your peace will irritate those who feed on drama. Your silence will unsettle those who thrive on control. But eventually they will recognize that you are operating from a different frequency, one they cannot disturb. Detachment does not mean you stop loving. It means you love wisely. You stop expecting others to save you, fix you, or complete you. You stop trying to rescue those who refuse to grow. You give people the freedom to be who they are, and you give yourself permission to walk away when their energy no longer aligns with yours. Love without attachment is love in its purest form. It flows, not clings. It gives, not demands. When you practice detachment, you also master patience. You stop rushing outcomes. You stop forcing timing. You trust that what is meant for you cannot be lost, and what is not meant for you will fall away. You learn to wait without anxiety, to act without desperation. Life begins to feel lighter because you are no longer resisting it. To remain calm when the world tries to shake you, you must anchor yourself internally. You must build daily rituals that ground you. Silence in the morning before the noise begins, conscious breathing when emotions rise, journaling when thoughts overflow. These small habits strengthen your inner foundation. When your mind becomes your ally, the outer world loses its power over you. Detachment also demands discipline. It requires saying no to emotional bait, walking away from arguments that go nowhere, and choosing silence over unnecessary explanations. It means letting people have their version of the story without feeling the need to correct them. You begin to understand that peace is more valuable than being right. Sometimes detachment means grieving quietly without dramatizing pain. It means acknowledging loss without letting it consume your spirit. You allow yourself to feel deeply, but recover swiftly. You do not build a home in sadness. You learn that resilience is not pretending to be unhurt. It is healing faster each time life tests you. There is beauty in emotional distance. When you stop being reactive, you gain perspective. You start noticing patterns in yourself and others. You see how much of human conflict is born from fear, insecurity, and unhealed pain. You stop taking things personally because you realize everyone is fighting invisible battles. This understanding creates compassion, not weakness, but wisdom. In moments of chaos, remind yourself, this too shall pass. Every storm eventually runs out of rain. Every emotion, no matter how strong, loses its grip with time. You do not need to fix everything. You do not need to control every outcome. Sometimes the most powerful response is no reaction at all. When you act from peace instead of panic, life responds differently. Opportunities come to those who stay calm under pressure. Relationships thrive when one person refuses to feed the drama. Clarity arrives when the mind is still. Detachment is not an escape, it is a return to your center where your true power lives. If you have been easily shaken lately, remember this: your calm is your weapon. Protect it. Guard it as you would your most sacred treasure. Because when you can remain still in the storm, you become the storm's master, not its victim. If this message resonates with your soul, take a quiet moment after reading. Breathe deeply. Feel your heartbeat steady. Whisper to yourself, I am calm. I am grounded. I am untouchable. Then share this with someone who needs to be reminded of their own power. The world will always test your peace. Your strength lies in how gently you protect it. Chapter 13. The power of remaining silent when you are provoked. There is an unmatched strength in silence, especially when the world demands a reaction. Anyone can shout back when insulted, argue when challenged, or defend themselves when attacked. But it takes deep self-control to remain still, to let your silence speak when your ego burns to be heard. Silence is not weakness. It is the highest form of emotional intelligence. It is proof that you no longer move according to chaos, but according to peace. Your silence is your power. The moment you choose not to react, you take back control. In today's world, people are addicted to noise. Social media amplifies opinions, arguments, and judgments. Everyone wants the last word. Everyone wants to be right. But the more you argue, the more you lose your peace. The more you defend yourself, the more you strengthen the very thing you are trying to escape. Silence, on the other hand, disarms everything. It confuses the manipulator, frustrates the aggressor, and protects your energy. When you stay silent, you do not give chaos a stage. There was once a king who asked his wisest advisor, "What is the most powerful response to an insult?" The advisor replied, "Silence." The king frowned, saying, "That sounds weak." The advisor smiled. "Then try it," he said. The next time the king was insulted by a rival, he remained silent. The rival grew louder, more desperate, until finally, exhausting himself in confusion, the king walked away untouched, his dignity intact. That day, he understood that silence is not surrender, it is sovereignty. The human ego thrives on reaction. When provoked, it screams, "Defend yourself, prove your worth. Show them who you are," but the moment you engage, you become enslaved to the other person's energy. You dance to their rhythm. You give them your emotional power. Silence breaks that chain. It says, "I choose not to be controlled by your chaos." It is the purest declaration of inner authority. The people who provoke you are not seeking truth. They are seeking control. They feed off your attention. They need your energy to validate their insecurity. When you remain silent, you deny them that nourishment. You mirror their emptiness back to them. You remind them that their power is only an illusion. In silence, you stop the cycle of emotional exchange, and you walk away carrying your peace intact. But silence does not mean repression. It is not about burying your feelings or pretending you are unaffected. It is about mastering your timing. You speak only when it serves your peace, not when it feeds your pain. You choose your moments with intention. There is a time to express and a time to hold still. Wisdom is knowing the difference. In the modern world, silence has become rare because ego is celebrated. People mistake loudness for confidence. But true confidence is calm. True strength is quiet. You do not need to prove your point when you are rooted in truth. The ones who know themselves never need to explain themselves. They let their consistency, their results, their peace speak on their behalf. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Feel the rush of emotion rise like fire in your chest and breathe. Remind yourself that every reaction costs energy, and peace is the most expensive thing you own. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? 99% of the time, it is not. Walk away. Let your calmness be the loudest statement in the room. Consider how many arguments you could have avoided by simply staying silent. How many relationships could have been preserved? How much energy could have been saved? Silence has healed more than words ever could, because words often escalate, but silence dissolves. When you no longer need to win, you start to live. There was once a philosopher who said, "Do not explain. Your friends do not need it, and your enemies will not believe it." This truth remains eternal. Explaining, defending, reacting, they all drain your power. Silence preserves it. It keeps your dignity unshaken and your mind unpolluted. It lets time reveal what words cannot. Sometimes silence is not for others, it is for yourself. It gives you space to think, to breathe, to respond wisely instead of emotionally. It allows your intuition to whisper before your anger shouts. You start to see that most conflicts are not even worth your attention. Silence gives you perspective. You stop fighting small battles that do not serve your destiny. You will notice that as you grow, your circle becomes quieter. You talk less about your plans, your pain, your progress, not because you are hiding, but because you have learned the sacredness of energy. You know that peace grows in silence, that strength matures in stillness. You start speaking only when necessary, and listening becomes your power. There is an old saying, the tiger does not proclaim its tigerhood. It simply moves, hunts, lives, and the jungle knows. The same is true for you. You do not need to announce your strength. You do not need to justify your peace. Your silence will say more than your words ever could. Remaining silent when provoked is not easy at first. It feels unnatural, especially when injustice stings. But over time, you realize that silence is not weakness, it is choice. You begin to feel a deep sense of control, not over others, but over yourself. That is the kind of mastery no one can fake. When you stop reacting, you gain an aura of mystery. People cannot predict you anymore. They cannot manipulate you because they cannot read you. They will start to respect you, even fear you, not because you dominate, but because you cannot be moved. That is the essence of power, calm, quiet, deliberate. If you are someone who has always reacted quickly, this is your invitation to slow down, to choose silence over shouting, to choose peace over proving, to let your presence, not your words, carry your power. As you finish this chapter, take a deep breath and remind yourself, not everything deserves my reaction. My peace is sacred. I will no longer give it away so easily. If these words resonate with you, share them with someone who needs to be reminded that silence is strength. Because in a world that constantly demands noise, your quiet calmness will always be your unfair advantage. Chapter 14. The discipline of emotional control. Respond, do not react. Most people live as if they are constantly being pulled by invisible strings, reacting to every insult, every inconvenience, every shift in the world around them. They lose themselves in small provocations, surrendering their peace to strangers' arguments and emotions they do not even understand. But the ones who master themselves, the ones who truly walk with calm power, have learned one thing. Emotional control is not about suppression, it is about direction. It is about channeling energy instead of exploding with it. You cannot control the world, but you can control how you meet it, and that is where your freedom begins. To control your emotions does not mean pretending you do not have them. It means understanding them so deeply that they no longer control you. It means recognizing anger before it turns into destruction, fear before it turns into paralysis, sadness before it turns into self-pity. You learn to pause before speaking, to breathe before reacting, to think before acting. The difference between a calm mind and a chaotic one is not the absence of emotion, it is the presence of awareness. We live in a culture that glorifies impulsiveness. People say, I just speak my mind, as if lack of discipline were honesty. But the truth is, emotional honesty without emotional control is just emotional immaturity. Anyone can explode. Anyone can shout. Anyone can quit in frustration. But it takes mastery to remain calm when others lose their temper. It takes wisdom to stay silent when you are misunderstood. It takes strength to continue working toward your goals when disappointment tries to pull you down. There is a story of a samurai who was known for his composure. One day, a young warrior came to provoke him. He insulted him, spat at him, even tried to strike him. The The samurai remained still, watching with steady eyes. The young warrior grew more enraged until he finally stormed away. When asked why he did not respond, the samurai said, "If someone offers you anger and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" His words were simple but powerful. The moment you react, you accept their chaos. The moment you stay calm, you rise above it. Every emotion you feel is an invitation. Anger invites you to look at where you feel powerless. Fear invites you to see where you have lost faith. Jealousy invites you to acknowledge what you have neglected within yourself. Emotional control is not about silencing these emotions. It is about listening to them without letting them dictate your behavior. You observe, you understand, and then you choose your response consciously. This discipline transforms your life. At work, you become unshakable. When others panic, you strategize. When others complain, you adapt. When others argue, you listen. You become the calm center in every storm, and that makes you indispensable. People start to trust your presence because they feel grounded around you. Your steadiness becomes a silent form of leadership. In relationships, emotional control saves what impulsiveness destroys. Instead of reacting to hurt with hurt, you pause. Instead of shouting to be heard, you speak to be understood. Instead of proving your point, you focus on preserving peace. Love does not thrive in chaos, it grows in stability. When you learn to manage your emotional waves, your relationships stop feeling like battles and start becoming sanctuaries. To cultivate emotional discipline, begin by practicing stillness. The next time you feel triggered, stop and breathe. Observe what is happening inside you. Ask yourself, is this reaction serving me? That small pause can change everything. The brain needs only a few seconds of space to shift from impulse to intention. Over time, this pause becomes your power. You will notice that the more you practice it, the calmer your life becomes. You must also learn to protect your mental environment. Guard your attention. Do not feed yourself with constant drama, arguments, or negativity. Your emotions mirror what you consume. The calmer your input, the steadier your mind. You cannot expect inner peace while constantly exposing yourself to chaos. Choose silence over noise. Choose reflection over reaction. Many people confuse emotional control with apathy, but they are not the same. Apathy is numbness. Control is awareness. Apathy ignores emotion. Control understands it. When you are emotionally disciplined, you do not run from your feelings. You regulate them. You let them move through you without letting them master you. There is a certain dignity that comes from emotional control. You stop explaining your calm to those who crave chaos. You stop reacting to gossip, disrespect, and provocation. You know that your peace is too expensive to spend on cheap noise. The world may see your silence as weakness, but those who truly understand power will recognize it immediately. Sometimes emotional control means walking away with grace when everything in you wants to fight. It means choosing stillness when your pride screams for revenge. It means smiling at those who misunderstand you and wishing them peace instead of resentment. It is not about being passive, it is about being powerful enough to choose your battles. When you master your emotions, you become untouchable. Not because life stops testing you, but because you stop breaking under its tests. You learn to bend without snapping, to fall without losing hope, to feel deeply without drowning. This level of discipline turns pain into strength and pressure into clarity. There will always be moments that test your control. Betrayal, rejection, injustice. But remember, emotional maturity is not what you do when things are easy. It is how you behave when everything goes wrong. In those moments, your calm becomes your weapon. Your silence becomes your armor. Your restraint becomes your power. If you have struggled with overreacting in the past, forgive yourself. You were not weak, you were human. You simply had not yet learned the art of pause. But from now on, you can begin again. You can choose calm over chaos, awareness over impulse. You can practice responding instead of reacting until it becomes your nature. The next time life provokes you, take a deep breath and remind yourself, I am not what happens to me. I am what I choose to become. That choice made in the silence between stimulus and response is where your freedom lives. If this chapter speaks to you, share it with someone who struggles to keep their calm. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give another soul is the reminder that peace is not found, it is practiced. And every time you choose not to react, you grow stronger. Chapter 15. Become untouchable, rise above, let nothing disturb your peace. There comes a point in every person's journey where they must decide what kind of life they wish to live. One that is constantly disturbed by the noise of the world, or one that remains still powerful and unmoved, regardless of circumstance. Most people never reach this place. They are tossed back and forth by opinions, disappointment, gossip, rejection, and fear. But a few, those who learn to master themselves, become untouchable. They walk through fire without burning, through storms without breaking. They live in peace, not because life is easy, but because they have trained their spirit to remain steady no matter what. Nothing can disturb the mind that has decided to stay calm. Being untouchable is not about arrogance or indifference. It is about strength. It is about having your emotions under your command, not the other way around. It is about understanding that your reaction gives everything its power, so you choose wisely when to respond and when to remain still. The one who controls their inner world controls everything that happens in the outer world. You become untouchable the moment you stop expecting fairness from life. The world owes you nothing. People will disappoint you, plans will fail, things will break. But your peace does not have to. You can experience loss without losing yourself. You can be hurt without being hardened. You can feel deeply without being destroyed. That is the essence of strength, the ability to remain open-hearted and unshaken at the same time. There is a story about a sage who was walking through a busy marketplace when a stranger spat at him. The people around gasped, expecting the sage to respond with anger, but he simply wiped his face, looked at the man calmly and said, "You have given me your anger, I return it with peace." The stranger was stunned. His hatred had nowhere to land. That is the secret of being untouchable. When no one can pull you into their chaos, you disarm them completely. To reach that state, you must unlearn many things. You must stop taking things personally. Most people's behavior is not about you. It is about their own pain, fear, and insecurity. When you stop internalizing their chaos, you begin to see clearly. You realize that their words lose power the moment you refuse to absorb them. Emotional detachment becomes your shield, not because you are cold, but because you are wise enough to protect your peace. The greatest strength is emotional independence. When you no longer rely on external validation to feel whole, you become free. You stop chasing approval, stop fearing rejection, stop explaining your peace. You no longer let the moods of others dictate your mood. You no longer let their judgments dictate your worth. You stand grounded in yourself, anchored in your own truth. Becoming untouchable also means understanding time. You realize that every pain has an expiration date. What hurts today will heal tomorrow. You stop rushing to fix everything immediately. You allow patience to do its quiet work. You trust that the storm will pass without your panic. You start living from a place of calm faith rather than anxious control. There will be moments when life tests you, when people betray you, when plans collapse. In those moments, do not ask, "Why me?" Ask, instead, "What is this teaching me?" Every challenge is an opportunity to deepen your peace. Every loss is a lesson in letting go. Every failure is a reminder that your value was never tied to outcomes. The untouchable soul does not resist change, it flows with it. To be untouchable is to know that you cannot control others, only yourself. It is to master the pause before reacting, the smile before complaining, the stillness before deciding. It is to understand that the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The strongest are those who remain silent, who choose peace over pride, clarity over chaos, purpose over noise. When you live this way, the world begins to respond differently to you. You become intimidating to those who thrive on drama, but magnetic to those who seek truth. People feel your energy before you speak. They sense that nothing can shake you, and they either rise to match your frequency or quietly fall away. You stop chasing what is unstable. You start attracting what is aligned. You also learn to stop explaining your peace to those who cannot understand it. When they ask why, you no longer argue, you smile. When they ask why you do not react, you say nothing. Your silence becomes your message. Because peace does not need to justify itself, it simply exists. Being untouchable is not about perfection. It is about awareness. It is about noticing when something tries to steal your peace and refusing to hand it over. It is about choosing maturity over emotion, clarity over confusion, and wisdom over impulse. You stop seeing calmness as a reaction and start seeing it as your nature. Imagine living each day with that stillness inside you. You wake up unbothered by opinions, unshaken by circumstances, unchained by fear. You walk through challenges with quiet confidence. You listen more than you speak. You forgive faster, release sooner, and expect less. You move through the world like a mountain-rooted, stable and free. This level of mastery takes practice. You must train your mind daily through meditation, through reflection, through silence. You must learn to watch your thoughts instead of being consumed by them. You must remind yourself every morning, my peace is my power. I do not give it away. Each time you choose calm over reaction, you strengthen the foundation of your soul. If you want to become untouchable, begin small. The next time someone offends you, do not respond immediately. The next time life feels unfair, take a breath before complaining. The next time fear rises, remind yourself this too will pass. Over time, your peace will grow deeper, stronger, and more natural. You will reach a point where nothing surprises you anymore, not because you expect the worst, but because you trust yourself to handle the best and the worst with equal grace. That is when you truly become free. If these words reach you at a time when your heart feels heavy, let them sink in. You are stronger than your pain, calmer than your chaos, and greater than your fears. The world may try to shake you, but it cannot touch a mind that is anchored in peace. Take a deep breath right now and whisper to yourself, I am untouchable. Say it again until your soul believes it. Because once you do, the world will start believing it too. If this chapter spoke to your spirit, share it. Remind someone that peace is possible even in a noisy world. Because one calm soul can change the energy of an entire room. And that soul can be you. Thank you for being here and listening with your whole heart. Life doesn't change overnight, but every time you pause to truly listen, you're planting a new seed in your mind. If these words resonate with you, please share them, because somewhere out there, someone who feels lost might just need a quiet whisper to remember they are not alone. And if you too need a daily companion on your journey, don't forget to stay here with me, because in this space, there will always be someone ready to walk with you and gently remind you, you are on the right path. Keep building your inner strength. Your growth doesn't stop here. Listen to the next one.